Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, the podcast. We are doing something entirely different this week. We're having a little fun with the community. Everybody's got their own hot takes on just about everything, right? We live in hot take culture. So I asked you, I prompted you, and you all delivered. I said, what are your biggest hot takes in MLB The Show 25? And you guys were spitting fire. Some of it I agree with. Some of it I don't. So we're going to react to those comments today. Again, this is something different. If you like this type of stuff, we can do similar stuff moving forward. I don't know how often I can ask for hot takes, but we could crowdsource some stuff. You know, we can have some fun. So without further ado, thank you for being here. Let's do it. So we're going to go platform by platform here. I'm going to start my camera off on this part of the screen so you can see the comments. Then I'll move myself over for the rest. We're on Instagram right now. I posted this short to Instagram, to TikTok, and to YouTube Shorts. If you're on any of those three, please follow me or subscribe. Thank you. Especially on Instagram. Really trying to grow that platform. We have not been consistent until recently. Smallest platform I have right now. Let's grow it. So we're just going to read the comments. Some people, like Scott, who we're going to talk about first. Scott knows who he is. He put his comment in a few places. So that's okay. We'll just skip over it the next time we see it. So let's talk. If at any point you have further hot takes you want to drop, put them in the comments. If you have reactions to some of these hot takes, respond in the comments. Playing someone out of position should not be an option. This is an interesting one. I would call it a lukewarm take. I see where Scott's coming from. I don't know where I stand on this one. You know, as we know this year, MLB The Show really limited secondary positions in an effort to, what would we say, have a more truer form of lineup building. But at the same token, you could play just about any outfielder in any outfield spot, and they're fine. You could play third baseman at first base, and they're usually fine. You could play shortstops at second and vice versa. They're fine. Catchers can play first. Middle infielders can play center. It's a weird fielding dynamic this year, despite the fact that fielding is allegedly supposed to mean the most it's ever meant. So, maybe. I don't know if we should say they can't do it, like not as an option. I would say the penalty should be higher. Let's find a middle ground there, and we can agree. Next up from Scott, and we have some back and forth on this one a little bit. Scott says the 125 attribute cap breaks the in-game logic while ruining card builds during the power creep. Then Josiah Hartshorn, not in a reply, but just in general, he is a Cubs prospect, by the way. He was, I can't recall if he was drafted this year or signed as an undrafted free agent. Either way, congratulations to you, Josiah. Every attribute should go up to 125, the complete opposite of what Scott's saying. Or certain people like Chandler Simpson should be able to have higher than 99 speed to the point where the speed is game-changing like in real life. This is very interesting. I have always found it interesting that, you know, your contacts and your clutch and your powers can go up to 125, but like, kind of like Josiah is saying, your speed can't, or your fielding can't. Like, I could see both ends of this, man. I think the 125 attribute, I don't know if it breaks game, but it is strange. Like, if player diamonds top out at 99, and attribute scales go to 99, why are we going up to 125? I think initially it was meant to be like, oh, these were the best of all time doing this. Like legends, like, you know, we don't have Barry Bonds, but if Barry Bonds were in the game, he would have 125 power because he had the most home runs of all time. Meanwhile, it's a random ass number. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys think on this, because obviously we used to have a cap that stopped at 99. The game was drastically different then. The way we viewed cards was drastically different then. I don't know what's better or worse. This is one of the few I can't really react to because I don't know. I'm kind of between both. Also, just realizing now how stupid this screenshot looks to sit on. But, you know, whatever. You guys are going to see a lot of my face today. So let me know what you guys think. 125 attribute cap. Yay or nay? Next up from Dan Brochill88. Every perfect should be a hit. And then Brett Keith commented, although it's annoying, it's not realistic. You still hit it hard, but sometimes it goes right at someone. It be like that sometimes. I tend to side with Brett here. Perfect really just means squared up. The way I interpret it. Every perfect should not be a hit. Now, where I will make concessions is that there are far too many. The issue here is, let's backtrack a second. The issue we all have with this game, whether you are a realist, traditionalist, or not, far too many balls that we hit well are at somebody. Yes, that is baseball. Yes, but still far too many. I think what would make a lot of us feel better is tuning line drives. Most of the perfect outs we hit are line drives. Most perfect fly balls leave. Most, like probably 85-90% leave. The ones that stick out in our heads and make us so mad are because they happened, but it's really a small percentage. Perfect grounders, I feel like we don't really hit a lot of those, and when we do, it is what it is. But it's the line drives that we hit into 6-7 line drive outs a game. Perfect, or hard hit. We need to tune line drives. We need to tune more topspin onto them. We need to, it feels like if you pull any sort of perfect, it's magnetized to the third baseman or the first baseman. I agree in that respect. Though that has nothing to do with perfect. It has everything to do with hit outcomes. Line drives in this game are incredibly broken. They've been incredibly broken. It's the reason contact hitters in this game will never succeed unless they change the hitting engine. It's why when everyone was excited and yelling for Ichiro, most of us were like, hey, Ichiro's cool. Would love him in the game. He ain't gonna be used. It's the reason they had to give Tony Gwynn in the Moonshot program a bunch of power. It's the only way Tony Gwynn can be used, which sucks because he's got a great swing. Line drives are a problem. The field play is way too small. That's why a lot of balls you think are shot into the gap are caught, or a lot of times you hit a ball into the right center field gap or left center field gap to the wall, a gapper, but you're still thrown out at second base. That makes not a lick of sense. That's not how real life baseball works. We all want real baseball, or the people who cry about real baseball cry about it, but then that happens, they don't say a word. Outfield's got to play bigger. Line drives have to drop more. That's what I'll say on the subject of every perfect should be a hit, because I feel like that satisfies a lot of the complaints we have. Does that make sense? That was kind of a really ripped off tangent there. But I think that makes sense. Okay? So thank you to the people on Instagram. kdjTV611 on Instagram. If you're not following, do it. Thank you, everything. All of these links, by the way, linked in the description. So before we move over to TikTok, I'm just going to take a hot second. Oh, are we using this format? Oh, no. Maybe. I didn't realize I was using this format. Hope it works. Maybe I don't need to move my face. My face will just be here. Okay. I don't even know how my setup is. It's been a minute since I've used this desktop cam format, so work with me here. All right, on to TikTok. From Fluellen. Pitchers shouldn't be making behind-the-back snags if their fielding is 50 or less. Yeah. Pitchers shouldn't be making behind-the-back snags. I know that Mets Nolan McLean fella. Is that his name? McLean? He just did it in his debut. That's like a once-a-month ordeal. The pitcher wall in general sucks. It stinks. Pitchers make way too many plays. Pitchers make way too many plays in MLB The Show. When in reality, what actually happens, again, if we want realism, the ball either smokes the pitcher and ricochets somewhere, or the pitcher on purpose gets out of the way to let their fielders make a play. So, yes, wholeheartedly agree. Good point. Next up, from this guy doesn't even have a username. Tells you a lot. The game is fixed. I was referring to co-op, should have stated that. There's games I get constant hits off lates and earlies, and games I get multiple outs off perfects. I don't know. Then how good? The game is not fixed. Moving on. From Michael. I've always said this, but in co-op, you shouldn't be able to put in your other starter after the fifth. There's going to be a couple comments on this. At least I vaguely remember a couple comments on this. I think in co-op specifically, because co-op is a mode that becomes very redundant. It doesn't function properly. It's a separate conversation. People can figure that out later on. But I think once your starter is chosen in that randomization, you should not be able to use that other second starter, period. Not even until after the 5th, before the 5th, in the 5th. Got to use the bullpen. That's how every co-op game last year was Randy Johnson, John Donaldson simulator. Because once one was done, the other came in. I think your starter's your starter. You use your bullpen. That might not, please everybody. Sometimes you want to use the starter you chose, but them's the things. That's how life works. You don't always get what you want. But yeah, Michael, good point there about referencing starters in co-op. From Da Vinci, the artist. Biggest hot take, which shouldn't even be a hot take. A perfect shouldn't be an out. All right, we just talked about that. You guys know where I stand on there. There was a lot of back and forth on this. I think a lot of the issue stems from using the word perfect. I want my input to be rewarded, no doubt. Theoretically, perfect input implies a perfect result. It was a phrasing and terminology problem on SDS's end by calling it perfect. It's too far gone probably at this point. It's become so in the lexicon of MLB The Show players that it ain't going away. I'd argue it should have been called barreled or squared up or ripped or rocketed or make up another word. Perfect, when you take it at face value, implies a perfect result. That's not what it is. Moving on. From Omar. This isn't a hot take, this is a question, but sure. Are created stadiums glitched for anyone else? I pick one of my parks online and puts me in a random one like Coors or Boston. Not a clue. You did not, this was not the assignment. But shout out to Omar, I hope someone helps him. From Daniel Mancini, excuse me. Oh, this one. Whoo! This one was the hottest take. This one was the hottest take. Carlos Beltran is so mid and not even a top 5 live series collection card. Top 5 outfielder and should not be on a true God squad. Daniel, you are smoking crack cocaine. Crack cocaine, man. Listen, to each their own. You can have your opinion. If that's your opinion, operate by those ideals or whatever. But you are categorically incorrect. He is still the best card in the game, which therefore makes him the best outfielder in the game. I still think he is the top collection card of all time. Live series collection card, specify. I suppose his rival would be like the Chipper or the Mantle. We got a Mantle, right? We did. Switch hitter, power, speed, contact, fielding, arm. That's a 5 tool with a great swing. I know every swing is, up to the user. You might not agree that you like the swing. That's fine. But, surveying the player base, a majority would say that. Yeah, Beltran is immaculate, and if he leaves my lineup this year, it's because I got bored. But he has been my best player still. I just hit a cycle with him last week. You guys saw that. He's great. So, Daniel, hot take. Congratulations, you win. From Winnie, World Series players shouldn't be able to play people below 700 rating. I don't know if I classify that as a hot take. I just think that you're not wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think it's more of a matchmaking issue, which MLB The Show is notorious for having bad matchmaking. So I'd say matchmaking in its whole totality should be revisited. From Z, a good change to the game would be limiting switch hitters to, say, 5 and a minimum 2 left and 2 right batters, but they would have to get rid of shrinkage on Legend for this to work. I will say this. People can make their lineups however they want. That's why this game exists. That's why there's variety. That's why you can collect your favorite cards, players, teams, etc. I also find it frustrating to face endless lineup after lineup of switch hitters, switch hitters, switch hitters, switch hitters. Am I guilty currently in my God Squad of using a lot of switch hitters? Yes. Beltran, Rollins, Posada, Willie Castro. Yeah, for sure. It's also because they're the best cards in the game right now at their respective positions. I don't think, and then this actually, Victor, the next comment, all switch hitting teams are a snooze. I agree with you that they're a snooze. I don't think you can go in and limit people. I don't think you can limit people. That's not how real life works. Technically, if the Yankees wanted to have an all switch hitting team next season, they could gut everything and have all switch hitters. Like, there's no rule against that. But yeah, it is frustrating, and it might be a snooze, and I feel it, and I get it, and I don't disagree, but it is what it is. Next up from Caden. Perfect outs suck, but that's really accurate to baseball. You can crush a ball and it goes right to a defender. What's funny is that this is a hot take because of how many people despise perfect outs. You're not wrong. We've addressed perfect outs. I'm going to continue to read those comments as they come up, but we're not going to really keep addressing them. From Dave, I think they need to make it easier to quick sell jerseys. I didn't know that there was anybody on this earth who had fiery feelings about jerseys. So, Dave, I hope you get your way. From R. Goody, too high of an elevation and too low of an elevation can ruin the gaming experience. I agree. I agree. Also, my hot take is that all of the mini collections this year are a good thing and constantly give people something, even people play the game a ton, to work toward. Although I do recognize that people who can't play a ton might feel overwhelmed, I personally enjoy having constant new stuff to grind toward and would rather have too much to do than not enough to do. Whew, we need to work on punctuation. Yeah, listen, I have had, and I still do, have my fair share of complaints on collections. It's not that they're not attainable, because I have them all done. It's just that I do find it to be far too many. I don't think every card series needs a collection. My perspective comes from someone who has all the cards, but sees, like, a casual player, and that's not a put down, but just somebody who doesn't play the game as much. It's a casual player. It is very difficult for a lot of casual players to keep up. They don't play a lot. There are other games coming out that have their interest, or they have families. Duh, they have kids. Duh, they have whatever obligations they have. I'm not saying every card needs to be free. I'm not saying every card needs to be handed to you or accessible or this or that. I just think so many collections is a really easy way to get people behind the eight ball. And I actually think people who get so far behind the eight ball get so discouraged that they just drop the game entirely because, like, I'll never catch up. I'll never feel like I can compete against all these God squads, which is untrue, but it's just a feeling. And they stop playing the game. So I actually think it has an adverse effect to what they hoped it would have. Collections are part of baseball, collecting baseball cards. It is a card collecting mode, for sure. It's what Diamond Dynasty is. I just think if we find that middle ground, tone it back a little bit, but still have some of it. Like, we don't need a collection every 10 days. I think that's ridiculous. If we had, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I just think it's a little too much right now. And I've said that before, so this is not the first time. But thank you, Goody. Who's next? Officer Doofy. I think the great people at the game don't go for perfect. They know where the real perfect is. I don't even know what you're talking about. But shout out to you. Next one from Booger. Hall of Fame pitch speed should be the norm for every division of ranked until you get to 900, then go to legend. This is interesting. I've brought up universal pitch speeds before. It's met with both sides of discussion, positive, negative. I do think there is way too much pitch speed jumping around in Diamond Dynasty. If events in BR are all-star, they're your gateway to online play. BR's a little sweaty, but you know what I mean? I don't hate the idea of all of ranked being Hall of Fame until legend. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I'm not very anti this. I don't know how fully positive I am, but I don't anti-hate it. I'm not against it. Booger, you make an interesting point, something to consider. From the Dark Mage. I think it's fun to switch it up and play different places all the time. Wouldn't be mad if they made it random every game. Not a hot take, just a personal preference, and that's fine. I don't like the idea of randomly assigning you a stadium every game. I think that stinks. I think part of this game, truth be told, is personalization of where you like to play. Some places are much better to play than others, but I think it's part of the preference. El Bigote says, altitude is not a factor in MLB The Show. You are categorically incorrect. That's not even a hot take. It's just factually wrong. Moving on. From Jose Zepeda. This is not a hot take, but people complain about collections when they have been basically free with all the packs we got for free. We've already talked about collections, and they now are becoming a lot easier to finish. In the beginning, they were not absolutely free. But they heard the outcry and they made a pivot, so I appreciate that. From Ash, the game itself picks who wins at the beginning of every co-op game before the first pitch is thrown. No, it's not true. It's just really bad connection most games, and it more bad RNG happens in places like co-op because the connection is horseshit the whole time. So it makes it feel like the game is against you, even when it's not. The game is just against you playing it, period. From Drew, SDS destroyed their online modes, taking away rewards and events, and nuking the BR program killed casual players. Yeah, the multiplayer program I at first thought was a good idea, and then after experiencing it, I changed my tune. That's how thought works. That's how nuanced thought works. That's how experiential opinions are formed. Yeah, I miss events. I used to be the biggest event grinder there was. And BR to me has no point this year. Zero. It stinks. So yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a hot take. I think a lot of people share your opinion. From Brandon, you shouldn't be able to sub in a pitcher hitter after the at-bat has started. Here's where I fall on that. It is frustrating, and it could be seen as toxic. Technically, you can do that. So, if it's a rule in baseball, it's a rule in MLB The Show. You can sub people whenever you want. It's rare you see a batter subbed out in the middle of an at-bat unless they got ejected or hurt, but it's not illegal. Technically, it's allowed. Oh God, I don't know how to say that. From Lull, I think this would be the greatest MLB ever if hitting was a little more rewarding. I think it's still in the top 3 to 5 MLB The Shows ever. I'll have to revisit that at the end. I don't have as many hitting sucks complaints as a lot of people do. I've definitely had my moments. You guys saw my game last week that actually made me rage on camera. I think there are periods of time in which hitting in this game feels immaculate, and then there are periods of time in which hitting in this game feels like absolute turds. So I don't disagree entirely. I think the bigger problem this year, and the bigger frustrating thing for me this year, is how umpires don't call strikes on the black. That's more frustrating to me than the hitting outcomes. Just being completely honest. So, from Taste My Tester. Oh, hello. Pinpoint is bad. I say this because unlike pure analog or meter, when you throw a perfect pitch, if you were trying to throw the ball in the strike zone, there's possibility it's not a strike. This is kind of what I just said. Yeah, pitching is very annoying. I'll throw 100% perfect pinpoint and it's a ball, even though I started it in the zone. I know the par region exists, you moron. I get it. But again, it's the word perfect. If we're taking it at textbook definition face value, a perfect pitch is perfect. A perfect swing is perfect. It's not how the game is coded, but it's very frustrating. It for sure. So I feel that. Ronald Salermo, I hate cheap home runs. That's not a hot take, but I feel you. I also don't like cheap home runs, trust me. I've hit plenty of them myself. From Jack, I wish I could post a clip to sum up my MLB experience, but good swings aren't rewarded while bad swings are. I've seen 93-mile-an-hour, 40-degree late home runs in dead ballparks. The hitting engine was coded by a dude with no thumbs. I don't know. We know who coded it. Yeah, listen. Weird stuff happens in this game, for sure. From RXK, check swings are terrible. I always replay to see the bat missing the plate. Again, this is not a hot take. Some of these things are just facts. Yeah, check swings are poorly implemented in this game. I don't even know. This playing at low elevation stadiums. Whatever. From Damien, in co-op, you shouldn't be allowed to sub in a starting pitcher. There you go. Damien, not a hot take. We agree. Professor Gaming. Shout out Professor Gaming. More about perfects, but I'll read it. People complaining about hitting a perfect that resulted in an out was not the same as show the result was an out. I do believe that some balances need to be made in order to let the user input be fully what determines what happens in the game. Yeah, basically exactly what I said. You know, there needs to be some sort of change. I don't think the change needs to be on perfects. I think the change needs to be on widening the size of the outfield. That's my issue. From Landon. You shouldn't be able to quit out the game till after the 3 innings have ended, or you get a timed ban. Tired of getting 7, 8 runs in the first and second. Oh, pat on the back. Excuse me. Humble brag. And then dude leaves like, I just want one mercy. You cannot prevent people from quitting a game. Technically, they can quit whenever they want. What you need to do is incentivize people to stay longer or hit them with a punishment for quitting. You cannot prevent a quit. A quit's going to happen. Quits are fine. Quits are quits. While frustrating, especially as someone who makes content, I get it. You physically cannot prevent someone from quitting. You need to put in safeguards to either incentivize or, make their experience less fun. Next up, Jack Ryan. I hate that John Donaldson throws 96-mile-an-hour sliders. Yeah, listen, no hate on John Donaldson and all his accomplishments, but I don't think that's real. I don't know. I wasn't there. I've never seen the video. There wasn't a lot of video. Yeah. I don't know. 96-mile-an-hour sliders are just becoming a thing in real life. So I don't know. There's always unicorns. Maybe he was one. He for sure was a unicorn in that he was incredible, but 96-mile-an-hour slider. Yeah, I don't know. From Sean. Oh, this is a joke. Umpires are great. Not. This is the worst called game since 2018. Yeah, that's not a hot take. I agree with you. Umpires stink in this game this year. From DEJ, Dej. No pitcher should be throwing 103 plus for 65 plus pitches and 6 plus innings. A cutter shouldn't be 101. Camilo Doval in real life throws a 100-mile-an-hour cutter. So, factually incorrect. I'm sure there are others. He's just the first one that came to mind. And yeah, 103 plus for 65 plus pitches and 6 innings is wild. I totally agree with that. Like, your arm in real life would fall off. But this is where I'm okay with it, because it's a video game. It's a video game. If you want to talk about, franchise, there needs to be, progression or issues where, over the course of a game, your stamina goes down, you can't throw as hard, sure. That's where realism needs to come into play. Franchise should be the most realistic experience there is. Diamond Dynasty? I don't need that kind of realism. I want to compete. So that's where I'm at. From Jake Lance. I should be able to exchange 100 cards at once and not just the amount to get one pack. I don't know what that means. Are you talking about the silver to gold exchange? Yeah, I suppose I could see that. Not necessarily a hot take, just a quality of life thing, but I feel you. Mr. Saturday. I like that there aren't silly captains like the durability captain this year. Preach, Mr. Saturday. However, not having at least one pitcher and hitter captain for every team this late in the year is stupid. I'd have to go back and look at which teams don't have the counterpart pitcher or hitter, but yeah, I would say at this point in the year, every team should have a captain for both. I agree. Moving on to the YouTube with another just fantastic screenshot of me. We're going to go through a little faster. These are bound to be some duplicates. P9, offline is far more fun than online. That is just a personal preference. It's not a hot take, but I'm glad you're enjoying your offline experience. Sincerely. Not putting you down in any way, but it's an opinion. What's going on? Oh my God. Hold on. Is that it? Stop. Okay. I figured it out. From Keaton Kessinger. I know he definitely disagrees on this. Me. I think Diamond Quest is a bad addition to the game. The mode is incredibly repetitive, boring, and of course the worst part is you're not guaranteed the rewards. All right. I helped create Diamond Quest. Fact. I was in the meetings well before it was even announced, talking about Diamond Quest, troubleshooting Diamond Quest. I am, for better or worse, part of Diamond Quest. I am a fan of Diamond Quest, not even because I was part of it. I enjoy tabletop board games. I enjoy chance. I enjoy strategy. It is based on the roguelike game mode. Or game... I don't even know what you call it. It's based on roguelikes. Where you do tasks and you're not guaranteed the rewards. The whole point is the chance. The whole point is improving your chances. The whole point is replayability. The fact that it's modeled after that, intentionally, means it is 100% achieving what it set out to achieve. And that's it. That's what it's supposed to be. I understand people getting frustrated after having like 90% chance and not getting the reward, but guess what? There was a 10% chance you weren't going to get the reward. And I'm not attacking Keaton. There are other people who said they don't like Diamond Quest here. That's fine. Not every mode needs to be for every person. But we've been crying for new game modes and finally got one. It's fun. This is a good game mode for a lot of people. I think there's always room for improvement and expansion. Maybe they up the odds of rewards, which I wouldn't like, but like, it is what it is, whatever, it's fine. But if Diamond Quest was seeking to be what it is, which it was, it achieved that. That's my soapbox. Oh, Christ almighty. I cannot stand scrolling on YouTube Shorts. Shut up, me! For people who are just audio listening, they cannot hear me, but my shorts keep playing by themselves every time I try to scroll. Owen Hammond has 3 things. There's only one thing. I personally don't mind the collections. We talked about collections. From Brandon Wynn Stanley. Once you make World Series, you shouldn't play below 700. Kind of somebody, that might have been the same person saying it in 2 places. So we talked about that. Lucifer. I actually like playing in large stadiums. It adds to the chess match of every game as you need to focus more on getting line drives and playing better defense while pitching. Listen, everybody can play the game they want to play. I think, to me, that is a franchise offline type of situation where you are looking for real baseball experiences. Diamond Dynasty is meant to be fantasy. It's not supposed to be a realistic baseball experience, even though SDS says it is. It doesn't function like one. From OG Shrimp Sauce, okay? You should be able to charge the mound. No, you shouldn't. The MLB Players Association would never let that happen. They have agreements with MLB The Show and SDS. It will never happen. There's a reason MLB Slugfest doesn't exist anymore. That's why. Hot take. Collections really aren't that bad. Turner, I appreciate your comment, but we did already talk about that. Not your fault, but we talked about it. Mr. WrestleMania, I hate the power creep. I want the game to start off with 95 overall programs. I want 97 World Series and BR Flawless rewards at the start. Playing for an 87 Steve Carlton is not enough incentive. Did you play Sets and Seasons? It stunk. The power creep is fun when it's done correctly. I think this year it was paced all right. I think we exploded from 96 to 99 really fast. It's fine. It is what it is. You know, the other conversation to have is how the game interacted this year with lower power cards. That is certainly something that we need to talk about, but no, I still think the power creep is the widely accepted way to play. Post-happy streams. The only assessments on the gameplay should be based off Major League stadiums. This isn't Mario Baseball or a minor league game. The standard for how we play should be based off actual parks. First of all, why can't I see full comments? I'm realizing that. Sorry if I'm missing people's points. What I will say is I think SDS needs to place a better emphasis on how Major League parks function. I don't think enough of them function properly, and if they did function properly, we would have a lot more people playing in Major League stadiums. There are too many fans. Well, there aren't too many fans. Let me backtrack that. SDS's and MLB The Show's graphics cannot handle the amount of fans in Major League stadiums, and that's why often they lag and they don't function well. That's why a place like Kauffman Stadium that has constantly running waterfalls in the outfield feels like it doesn't play right because there's so much graphical power being put into that the rest of the game feels shitty. So if you're saying you want to emphasize the performance of Major League stadiums, I can vibe with that. From Monolithic Games, there are no good or bad swings. All swings function the same. There are just players that people hit well with, and those become that he has a great swing. I mean, technically, you're probably not wrong. But, like, Jorge Posada's swing is better than Mike Schmidt's. It just is. He's better than Sammy Sosa. He's better than Mark McGwire. Like, there are bad swings. Again, technically, you're probably not wrong, but, like, there are bad swings. So, a little of both there. Mason Wolf, MLB 24 was better than 25. At least in 24, they still called it what it was, Sets and Seasons, even though 25 is a giant collection. Calling one game better than another is personal preference. If you like 24, that's fine. If you liked sets and seasons, that's fine. I tried my best to like sets and seasons. I saw the light. I didn't appreciate it. Power creep is better for me. But yeah, I don't know if preferring one game over another is a hot take necessarily, but sure. From Mar. Swing results should be the same on the same swing. If I perfectly square up a cutter dotted low and away for a PP, I want my double into the gap and not a hard ground out to second. I need more context, and we talked about perfects, but I hear you. From Debo, the multiplayer program is the worst thing to ever happen to this game. Why is no one ever talking about this? Debo, I did a video on this a month or so ago, where I won't call it the worst thing to ever happen to the game, but I feel your pain and have similar opinions. Just not as strong. From D'Lo, too much grinding this year. All the crybabies that wanted everything free last year got their way, and now people like me who actually have a job in life can barely play ranked because they have to offline grind. We have to stop with calling people's opinions crybabies. There are a lot of people who just have different opinions. There's a lot of grinding this year. Yes. And we talked about in our 10-minute mailbag yesterday how I think grinding needs to be re-envisioned. I think the community's got to put their heads together and figure out how we can have programs that have a payoff, require us to do some stuff, but don't take hours and hours or weeks and weeks or days and days, but also are fresh. We got to put our heads together and figure it out. From Miggs, I don't like that they nerfed the tiers for World Series. Now it doesn't mean as much and the rewards aren't that good. The rewards do stink, and technically it doesn't mean as much, but, it is better when more people reach that type of status. Makes people more interested in playing and grinding ranked, which is better for matchmaking, which is better for the player base, which is better for the longevity of the game. I get why the decision was made. I tend to kind of share your opinion. The rewards definitely stink. You're spot on about that. But I see why the decision was made. That's what I'll say. From Big Daddy, my hot take is that they have dropped so many good cards, I don't feel behind not having live series or Batista collections done. I don't think it's a hot take. I think that's a very healthy opinion to have. Truly. So good for you. Really, sincerely, good for you. From Benny in the booth, Diamond Quest rewards should always be guaranteed. Benny, respectfully, because I appreciate that you comment a lot, and this is not a shot at you. No, they should not. It's supposed to be a roguelike. It is a roguelike. They should not be guaranteed. From The Drill, SDS needs to take a year off and completely revamp the game. I'm okay with not being able to play my favorite game for a year if that means I can get a good experience. It is a hot take. SDS will never do it. Would it be better for the health of the game long term to have an every other year cycle, or at least to take 1 year off and reset the system? Honestly, it might be best for the game. It might be. I just don't. The amount of dollars they'd lose, I don't think they'll ever do it. But I'm not saying you're wrong. For the record. From PlayStation. Oh, what a good name. Vision should be removed entirely. No. Vision is very important. There's another person in here eventually who says Vision doesn't make sense or is irrelevant. Vision is important. From Fountain Pop. Diamond Quest was a net negative to the game. Moving on. We talked about Diamond Quest. Michael Rochester. The multiplayer program is the worst thing. Yep, we talked about that. I just want to make sure I read everybody's comments at this point because you guys took the time to make comments. Richard Crocker, I do think this year is the best since I came back to video games in 2021. I'm happy for you. I don't think it's a hot take. I think that's personal preference, but I'm happy for you. From SLRXG, my hot take is that I like sets and seasons more because lineup diversity and captains. Here's what I will say. Yes, captains are effectively nerfed this year. I have found there's more lineup diversity right now in this game than there's been in years. I think lineup diversity is at an all-time high. Maybe it's because of how often there's been content. Maybe it's because of how many cards are in every drop. I think this is the best content lineup diversity's been in years. That's my hot take to your hot take. From Night Owl Man, what I'm not okay with regardless of elevation is how I see the all-time, how 83 Ace Velocity will be a hit, but Perfect Perfect will be outs. It's going to happen. Perfect's going to be outs. From CLWD, ranked does not really matter because the cards are always disappointing. The only reason to play ranked is for Weekend League. The cards, yes, the rewards stink. I think ranked still has value, and the Weekend League on a trial run has been pretty okay since the first one. The first one was a debacle. From Tyler O'Brien, My biggest hot take, this could be the worst gameplay MLB The Show ever. I've been playing Diamond Dynasty since 22. Not a lot of background there. And I've never seen perfect lineouts, foul balls, launch angles, and warning track power for guys with 125 power not go out. Yeah, I mean, a lot of foul balls. I think the launch angle problems this year are better than they have been. Perfect outs are going to happen, but we talked about lineouts. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Way too many effing lineouts. I agree for sure. For sure. I don't think this is the worst gameplay ever. Again, it has its moments. I've already said that. From Benjamin, I love Diamond Quest. Here we go, a truther. Sure, it sucks when you don't get the rewards, but the same can be said about BR. This has been the first year in my 3 years of playing that I've been able to keep up with collections and get all the best cards. Mostly because of Diamond Quest. Yeah, hell yeah, a truther, a knower. From Christian Pearson, that we still don't have dedicated servers for ranked play. Yeah, it'd be nice. From Preston, I miss captain cards. One for each card series that boost the type of card would be cool. I was very against captains. I thought captains were silly. I didn't like the switch hitter captain. I didn't like the country-themed captains. I didn't like the shortstop captain. There were a lot of captains I didn't like. I think it made team building a Frankenstein's monster. But what you're talking about makes sense. The Signature Series captain. It incentivizes SDS to put out enough Signature Series cards to fulfill a roster, which is good. It doesn't give a weird, unrelatable boost because they're all signature cards, so I get it. Like, that makes sense. I'd be okay with that. I'm okay with team captains as well. Obviously, we have those this year. I think they are executed pretty well. What you're saying is not a bad idea. From Unluck, switch hitting meta needs to die. I again, expressed my frustrations on it as well, but it is the nature of how the game operates. From Alan Graham, I think power should be a universal stat for both sides. I read this and thought it was interesting. Marja said, you're wrong. It's his opinion. He's not wrong. It's an opinion. I've thought about this too, and here is my only retort, and I'll leave it up to you guys to decide. ISO power, which is an advanced metric, measures your power. However it does. You have different isolated powers versus righties and lefties. Just a fact. So that's what goes into power right and power left. That's how it works. And if that's how it works, it's working as intended. But that's my only retort to that. Douglas Wallen, all the collections are awesome. I play a lot and the grind is fun. Yeah, if you like the collections, that's awesome. Truly. From Greg, switch hitters need to be limited. We talked about this. From Khalik, in Diamond Dynasty Stadium should have a base elevation and should only have night and day for the time of day. Meaning not like 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, whatever. Yeah, not a hot take, but something I truly believe. I agree with you there. From Matthew White, people who quit online games should be given a 24-hour ban. I think that's a little extreme, but I do agree quitters should be penalized. Majestic Greens is the best stadium for online games. I don't even know what Majestic Greens looks like. I'll have to look at it. Shrinking PCI is great. See, that's where we're going to disagree. I don't like shrinking PCI. Yeah, shrinking PCI ain't okay. It makes hitting harder. And hitting already, I don't know. I don't like the shrinking PCI. I think it stinks. RJ Beach, pure analog pitching is better than and more accurate than pinpoint. I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I truly don't know. I'd have to look into it. From Edgar, the community is getting toxic, especially with the introduction of Weekend Classic. I don't think Weekend Classic is changing a thing. I think some people have the wrong definition of toxic. Some people think people trying to win is toxic. Really, toxic means bad behavior, exploiting, being a little jerk, a little dickhead. People trying to win is not toxic. That's what I'll say. Especially in Weekend Classic, which is meant to be a competitive mode. If you don't like a hyper-competitive mode, don't play Weekend Classic. That's what it's supposed to be. From Chronic Terps, I feel like I'm a good pitcher and have pride in paint to the corners, but I feel like I go against his players that don't try to throw strikes. Yeah, I mean, listen, if people aren't going to throw strikes, don't swing. It's happened to me more this year than ever before. I try to paint corners too, and I face people who don't swing. It's on them. If they don't swing, good for them. I get more frustrated at strikes on the block not being called strikes. That's what frustrates me more. And foul balls. Don't get me started on that. From the one-time Shawty, collections are ass, and people should be able to sell collection rewards. I don't like that. I hate the new reward system for BR and events. Agree with you there. From Brian, I think that vision is pointless. I think you're wrong. You cannot think that something is pointless when it factually is not pointless. It factually has a function within the game. Go look at the in-game glossary. It tells you exactly what it does. From Steven Eats Alone, no way you like the hitting this year. Okay, I do. Well, sometimes. From King Animal, I love Hubert H. Humphrey Stadium. It's great. I use it. I'm happy for you. The Catalina Connection, agreed, period. All right. From Manny Sports Gaming, if you're playing out of Shea Stadium, Old Miami, and Yankee Stadium Classic, you're really wasting your time. Okay, that was hyper-specific. All right, so we've reached the end of this recording. This was a long episode. Oh no, I've hit the wrong button. Those are your MLB The Show hot takes with my responses. Some hotter than others, some just straight up factually inaccurate, some not even hot takes. But I appreciated this exercise. Again, if you liked it, like, subscribe. If you want more similar content like this, let me know. Okay? I haven't edited this yet, clearly, live recording. But if on YouTube it looked funky because of the way I had my desktop set up, I'm sorry, truly. Gonna fix that if it looks poopy. In the past, I've tried playing around with different visuals for that. I forgot to put it back to the old way. Bad on me. Bad content creator. But we'll get through it. We'll figure it out, I promise. All right? Thank you guys. Love you guys. Have a good rest of your week. See you next time.